Welcome back to this heritage series of interviews. And if you've not been here before, welcome. And if it's your first time, I hope you'll hit the pause button and go and get a coffee or a tea and join me and my guest for the next hour to go over some heritage history and some personal experiences of the different speakers. So today I'm joined by a very good friend, and he's going to introduce himself, where he's from, and a little bit about him before we get into his journey and his story. So Vardan, over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Adi. My name is Vardan. My surname is Hambardzumyan. I am from Armenia. I live in Armenia. I work for YMCA Europe as Executive Secretary based in Yerevan, Armenia. I'm in the YMCA since 1994. So it's almost 30 years. Married, have 2 children. I think that's it at this point.
That's it, Vardan. That's it. We get a lot about you there. And Vardan, you have been in the YMCA a long time, but outside of the YMCA, what's interesting in your life? What have you been involved in outside of the YMCA, which would be a good coffee or bar talking point?
I think I will answer to this question somehow still connecting it to the YMCA, because what was in my life before the YMCA became the reason why I am in the YMCA. When I was a student back in 1988, there was a very devastating earthquake in Armenia, which is called Pitak earthquake, which killed 25,000 people. And I was a student of foreign languages, and I was sent to Yerevan airport to meet the international aid coming from all over the world. And I remember that time the Soviet Union, so we're behind Iron Curtain. It was a very special thing to get this aid coming and to see the foreigners, that I don't know, French, English, Americans flying into Armenia. So I got in touch with Swiss rescue team and English doctors, and I went to the earthquake zone to help the rescue operations. But after 1 week or more, as you know, they stopped the operations, and then I had to stick with ITV, which is a British English television, and then that became a beginning of my kind of career as a freelancer. And later on, because many wars broke out in my country, in my region, I became a war correspondent. So I was a war correspondent for almost 5 years. I saw many horrors and many suffering, before I decided for myself that I should commit my life to a mission helping people. So I think this is something I always, and there are lots of nitty-gritties about these 5 years. I was a young person, I was the guy who made Margaret Thatcher visit Armenia. I could meet, of course, not around the coffee table, but at least with camera, presidents of countries and things like that. It was an interesting beginning of a career as a young person.
Oh, it's incredible, Vardan. And one of the things that we often ask people at YMCA conferences when we meet face to face is, how did you get involved in the YMCA? What was your first impressions? What's your why or YMCA story? So you touched on a little bit there, Vardan, but getting into the YMCA, do you want to just take us through how that was for you and what you first thought? I'm sure, like many of us in the movement, your impressions was something else instead of what happened to be the reality.
Yeah, I mean, I already answered somehow to this question in answering to the previous question, is that, being a war correspondent, seeing so many suffering, and there is a real story. The moment when I gave a promise that I should join an NGO helping people, I remember it was refugees were coming from Baku to Armenia, mostly elderly women, beaten, raped, with a suitcase carrying, with them, which was all their life, they could bring with them to Armenia. And one woman was carrying the suitcase, and the cameraman with me was trying to film it, but film the moment. But somehow his battery was down, and he had to change the battery. And then until he changed the battery, the woman managed to carry her suitcase to the place she wanted. And he came to me and said, can you please ask her to do it again? I didn't manage to film it. And that was the moment that I decided, no, this is not where I want to be. I'm not behind sensations. I want to help people, not just film their suffering. So it was a search for me to join the YMCA. In the beginning, I was working for an organization, which is a very famous organization, pan-European, called Service Civil International, SCI. So I was organizing youth exchanges in Armenia during the war. There was a war in Armenia, around Armenia, 1990, 1994. And I was working for this organization 91, 92, 93. And I was bringing European young people to Armenia those days. It was not an easy task. But then in 1994, I had a long-term placement in the UK. And when I came to Armenia, the Secretary General of YMCA Armenia, Ashot, was my good friend. And he invited me to as a professional to work for the YMCA, because YMCA was about to sign a contract with UNHCR, or there was a possibility to sign this contract with UNHCR, which was a huge contract. It was up to $2.5 million a year implementation plan. And they wanted the UNHCR was demanding a quality staff in the organization. So I was at that time considered to be a quality staff. So I joined the YMCA in 1994 as a professional. So I for a long time, I was not thinking to stay in the YMCA. I was thinking just I will help YMCA Armenia and my friend to get the contract, and then I will leave. I will get another job. I was aiming higher. I was thinking to go and work for UN. But then when the contract was signed, the UN told YMCA Armenia, if Vardan leaves, we will stop the contract. So that I had to stay.
So Vardan, you was in your local or your national YMCA, I guess, helping at that point. How did you manage to transition across to the European movement?
I think a very crucial moment of that was that I was enrolled into the Training of Trainers program.
Okay.
I got to know my trainers, Johan Willem Eltvik, Michal Shumanček, Michael Shorek. So that journey of Training of Trainers, and especially I got to know friends from all over the world, all over Europe. My Italian friends, Dino, Stefano, Tony from Bulgaria, Misha Gusko from Russia, Adam from Poland. And all these guys, I could name all of them. I haven't forgotten any of them. So they kind of changed my belonging to the YMCA. So it became more a family feeling. The mentorship from Johan and his team, the friendship from those people, and also in Armenia, I built up very good relations. Actually, one of the first YMCA staff in Armenia is my wife now. So we met in the YMCA, we fell in love.
Wow.
We married.
And you're not alone in that. There's plenty of people.
So the YMCA enchanted me gradually, And then in 1997, 1996, actually, I got a project funded by European Union. Which was called Project Next, which is interestingly right now I am implementing another Project Next, but that was the grandfather Project Next. It was a very good project on the movement strengthening of the YMCA in Armenia and beyond. And through this project, I started to really cooperate with YMCA Europe on organizing also trainings in Armenia, kind of co-founding Training of Trainers, pan-European schemes, and so on. So later. So that built up the platform, probably persuading Johan that he should call me to serve YMCA Europe later on.
That's a great story. I thank you for sharing that. And it brings us nicely onto our next kind of theme, which is around training the people that we're going to talk about. You were mentioning a couple of projects that you were involved in at the national level, and bringing some of the early European projects. But I understand that you've been involved in quite a few different projects during your career in YMCA Europe, not just your current project, but lots of different areas, lots of different trainings. Do you want to just share a little bit about I mean, there's not enough time, but the wealth of kind of experience of what you've had there?
I think 19th and the beginning of 2000s was a very exciting period of the history of the YMCA Europe, because it was the period when the YMCA was intensively extending towards the east. And it was a very exciting period. It was a period of hope, European home, hope for peace, solidarity, and in this movement development work, a very key role was playing the training schemes called training the trainers and training program developers, which was actually a series of very high quality trainings delivered by YMCA Europe key staff to the selected leaders from the national YMCAs who were in process of development, but not only for those, also for Western European YMCAs. We always had very good participants from England, for example, to these trainings. And I was involved as a participant as I mentioned, during the second training of trainers scheme, with Johan Willem, Mia Schumanchek, and Michael Schorek being my trainers. And then probably, I don't know, I looked very clever to them. So they decided to invite me as a co-trainer for the third training of trainer scheme. So I became a trainer in 97, 98 already, working for Armenian YMCA, not being a European staff, but I was a co-trainer. And from there, then I was a trainer, and later on, even the kind of key coordinator of these training programs until 2004, 2005, when the last sessions were happening. So as a matter of fact, these trainings helped us to kind of create a fellowship of all the key leaders, or almost all the key leaders who served the YMCAs in Eastern and Central Europe. They all gone through this training. So sometimes I joke, I say, you all have been my trainees. So when I talk to them, including YMCA Europe staff, almost everybody, apart from Juan, almost everybody has been my trainee in this scheme.
And I think that's beautiful. And I like that the YMCA, I'm sure locals and nationals everywhere, it's about lifting others up, and people who you trained are suddenly sat across as colleagues or sometimes your boss on some occasions. So it's really nice to hear. And I guess you touched a little bit on the fellowship and the people. Do you have any fond memories of anything particular that stands out, a certain location, a certain training, a certain conversation with somebody during those years that kind of has stayed with you?
Yeah, there were many moments, Adi, many, but one will stay with me till the end of the days, because that was the moment when I decided, then God decided that I should stay with the YMCA. It was in Rome, the last session of training of trainers, and beautiful training we had in Rome, with YMCA Italy taking incredible care of us. Beautiful excursions in the city, 2 days, Johan, Mihal, and they're organizing everything really very, very, very well. It was in March 1996. But I was very sad because I decided to leave the YMCA before coming to Rome, because I had some conflict in YMCA Armenia. I didn't want to become the kind of problem in the organization. I didn't want to harm my friends, who I would not share the vision and the way of management. So I decided to leave the YMCA. I spoke with Johan about it. I said, sorry, Johan, thank you for everything you did. I leave the YMCA. And I was very sad. And the last day, Johan was as a closing devotion, he was reading Corinthians 1:6, love, as a closing devotion. And the group all closed their eyes without any command, just they decided to close their eyes. And then somebody started the initiated like holding hands. And then we ended up everybody holding each other hands in a circle, Johan praying. And then when he finished the praying, with a moment of silence, I was praying, God, that give me a sign that I stay in the YMCA. I don't want to leave this organization, these friends. And then when I came to Armenia, I landed in the airport, and a very good friend of mine met me there and said, "You know what? Your project by the European Union have been approved. That means you would stay in the YMCA." There was only 10% chance of this project to be approved. It was a large-scale project. So I think these days was an incredible moment in my life, and that's how I got stuck in the YMCA, actually, but stuck with pleasure, I'll tell you.
And Vardan, you've touched on it a little bit there, that you've been quite a prolific fundraiser in your career and over the course of your time with the YMCA. And again, you know, that's something that's a skill not everybody can do. Do you want to just mention briefly, kind of, it's not a self-ego trip, but I think it's important that you share that, you know, some of the amounts that you've managed to bring, some of the projects have been life-changing for people and for regions. So would you just expand on that a little bit for me?
Well, I think, Adi, it's very interesting. I have been always good, and I've been privileged to have the opportunity to work with external stakeholders of the YMCA. And it's apart from my program management work, I think this is something that I'm really proud of. When I was very young, in YMCA Europe, I was representing YMCA Europe in the European Youth Forum, for example. And you know, and that was a very, very interesting period of representation, advocacy, you know, working with the partner organizations, like Scouts, Girl Guides, International Award Association. I was very privileged to represent YMCA Europe at the European Foundation Center in Aprodev, which is also the European Christian Foundations kind of network. So I think I had some kind of added value as a representative, because I was not only just going for these representation meetings and just, you know, representing YMCA. I was always trying to bring something back, and and this is where the kind of fundraising success came, you know. So been quite a lucky fundraiser in Armenian YMCA, as I said, you know, with working with UN, getting a European Union funding, and in YMCA Europe also. I have never been depending on YMCA Europe hard-earned own cash. I always fundraise money for the projects I'm doing, for the administration we are running, and so on, so later. Mostly from Christian foundations from Europe, which is Bread for the World, Germany, ED Germany, ECO Netherlands, EPERHEC Switzerland. So I have a long history, Danish Church, so I have a long history of working this institution. I think it's a very specific area that the YMCA should pay attention, because we have strategic synergy with these foundations, but also with European institutions. You know, European Union, Council of Europe, have been many successful fundraising initiatives with these institutions as well. And this is something I really like. I carry on.
And you're very good at it. So sorry if that question came out of nowhere, but I just think it's important to recognize people's contributions. I think one of the other questions I had is what work have you been most proud of outside of the current routes, which we're going to get to in a second, but you know, a career like yours that expands across local, national, European levels, and then of course collaborating with the World Alliance when possible. What have you been most proud of in your career outside of the current routes project?
Well, many things, Adi. I mean, my work with Armenian YMCA, I'm proud founding president of a local YMCA in Armenia. But I think one thing which I'm very proud, because probably it's because also I am Hambardzumyan, and Hambardzumyans are very proud scientific dynasty in Armenia, is doing my PhD research on the history of the YMCA. It it was an interesting journey. I made number of tens of very interesting publications. I presented many speeches and keynotes to different scientific symposiums about the history of YMCA in the Ottoman Empire and also the Republic of Armenia. I'm very proud that I found out that the birthday of YMCA Armenia is not when me took the papers to register that organization back in '94, but it's when two American guys set up the YMCA February 19, 1918 in Yerevan, Armenia. I was very proud to find
incredible.
it. And I still work on this research. I decided not to publish the book as long as I work for the YMCA because it's not honest. You know, my plea is that when I will retire as a staff of the YMCA, I will finish the book. But it's really incredible history. It's a history of the humanitarian heroes of the YMCA.
Wow, and we look forward to that. Whether you're watching now or in the future, whoever is out there, we look forward to that. It's a phenomenal piece of work, Vardan. But I just alluded to the roots, and of course, that is where we met. This is not just a host and an interviewee. This is also a friendship today. And thank you for trusting me to take you through this. But let's switch now to Roots for Reconciliation or Roots for Peace, and that has been something that has been a significant part of your life for the last few years. And when you want to give us an overview and kind of everything that is on the website, you will be able to find in the link below, we should say, to the people watching. But for those who don't have time to click on that, you want to just give us a quick overview of the Roots for Peace, Roots for Reconciliation initiative?
Yeah, it's well, it started back in 2006, the initiative. I would say with two main kind of interactions. The first was there was a lady working for Eco Netherlands, Zwantje van der Veer. I always remember her with the deep respect and care and love. And once she told me, "You are a movement, you are the democracy." It's a very interesting expression. You are a movement, you are the democracy. And she encouraged me to kind of go bolder and take some really important issues to work with, not just strengthening the YMCA. And we agreed that maybe peace work is something that would match the YMCA very much, because we are an international setting, and we always have even conflict inside our movement, because we have sides of conflict in that movement. And then there was the idea of basing that program on the camping, because the camps are where international camps are where people come together, young people, and if you can very well kind of channel it towards peace work. So then we organized a kind of conference, checking the interests of the partners together with YMCA of the USA, YMCA Europe. So Tom Valentine, Johan Wilhelm were present, some key donors, including from the Christian foundations of Europe, Switzerland, Germany, Netherlands, and a very rich Armenian woman from America. She also wanted to be a co-donor. So we launched the Roots for Peace program back in 2007. With focus on the camping program, which the idea was very simple. We build camps, we hold camps in those camps, and peace is built. But through implementation of this project, we realized two things. I think it was a successful phase, definitely, but it was a very difficult phase, the first phase. It's not easy to build camps, especially it's not easy to build them.
I was going to say, Vardan, you said it like we just build camps. Like I can imagine that's not very easy.
It's never easy to build camps, especially it's never easy to build them within a time frame given and budget limits. And having, I don't know, 5-6 partners all jumping around it, it's very difficult undertaking. And we don't have the capacity. We are not professionals in the construction field, so it's really a challenge. And the second thing is, it's not easy to do peace work without having capacity to do that. Yeah. So after the first phase, we realized that we need to build up our capacities to do peace work. it's not just everything you do is piecework. You may think it's a piecework, but you may be not honest to the cause. You may be cheating, calling something a piecework, but as a matter of fact, not doing it. So I think the second phase of the roots, then what started in 2010, 11, that was the beginning of the real kind of piecework that we started to do, and we are doing until now.
Okay, that's awesome. I mean, as well as the camps, I also have that you've been involved with as a project certain manuals or guidebooks, whatever the wording that people want to use, and also some of the young leaders. Do you want to speak? Do you want to speak about the kind of the hard output, if you will, which is trained young people and resources? I mean, those are pretty significant, as well as camps and the structures, as you said.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we had 3 camps built as a result of the first difficulties. By the way, the most difficult was the camp in Georgia to build it, but actually, as a matter of fact, it's the most sustainable now. So, as a project, it was real headache. I don't want to tell even I had to stop actually my contract with YMCA Europe at one point because of this camp construction. But right now, it's the most successful camp out of 3. But apart from the camps, we definitely initiated different elements of the project. Of course, Peacework Institute is definitely the creme de la creme of this type, because I think we already have 3 cohorts, 3 generations of Peacework Institute alumni. And as a matter of fact, Peacework Institute came not completely, but partially to replace the training of trainers of YMCA Europe. I think Peacework Institute became the training program which kind of shaped many leaders, current leaders of YMCA Europe. And Adi, I'm proud to say that you are one of them. And you know better than I know that, and you know who else are there, but we have names, in the training of, in the Peacework Institute. Also, I think very interesting element in our program is the component which is called Profest. We do, which are the kind of lighter events where our trained key leaders, Peacework Institute alumni, they run kind of light events for younger generation, for younger people. But these Profests had been interesting responses to the political things happening in Europe. For example, our first Profest was in 2009 as a response to the war between Georgia and Russia back in 2008. Wow. So when that war happened, YMCA was in a very difficult discussion, what should be our reaction to that and so on, so later. And then at one point we said, our response to this war is to bring young people from Georgia and Russia together to celebrate peace. And in 2009, together with YMCA of the USA, YMCA of Armenia, we brought Georgians and Russians together in Yerevan. That was an unforgettable event. And that shaped a kind of organizational culture in YMCA, how to deal with conflicts happening in our continent. And we did the same as a response to 2014 war in Ukraine. We organized the Profest this time in Georgia, bringing Russian and Ukrainian young people together in 2015. So, and we do many Profests. So I think this is a very interesting also way of organizing activities. We have the Peace Award, which is a very specific element of YMCA Europe Roots for Peace program of the last phase. And I think it's a very interesting tradition that we need to strengthen and maybe even go beyond just from peace. I think YMCA Europe as an area organization should really implement this award philosophy to recognizing organizations and individuals on a structural base, not just it's the birthday of this guy. We have to have a system where we annually recognize the best organization, the best youth worker, the most innovative, project and things like that. So I think the Peace Award is something in this line that we are trying to recognize the organizations who really commit themselves to peace work. And I'm very proud to say that all the organizations who received the award, which are YMCA Georgia, YMCA Kosovo, and YMCA Artsakh, they are all pragmatic actors of peace in our continent. All these organizations work in a conflict-prone situation, and they are really pursuing peace instead of anything else in their vision and in their mission. So, and right now this award is open for other applications, and I'm sure we'll get good applications from other good organizations in Europe who will implement the project for 2023. Yeah, we have very interesting element called local capacities for peace, which is encouraging our tandem project, which we were encouraging the people who get knowledge on peace work, then they can implement their knowledge at local level. And actually, based on this element, now we are developing an initiative called Camp Europe, which the idea is to launch a pan-European camping program as a response to the war in Ukraine. And I think we will be successful in this initiative, and with the coming 2 to 3 years, we will pilot this initiative, and probably this will become another flagship program of YMCA Europe for many years to come, because camping is such an identical service that the YMCA provides.
Absolutely. And if I was to ask you, Vardan, this project, of course, it's been around a while now. What are you most proud of? Because all the elements you spoke of, there's obviously a lot more to come, just from your energy and the potential of the Peace Award, the potential of the camps that you just spoke of. But what do you feel has been the main achievement of that work and the work that you've headed up until now? And I guess that also takes us into what will be the Roots legacy. And there's two questions there, but let's go first with the main achievement up until now. In your opinion, what are you most proud of?
I think I'll speak very symbolic, and both things happened in Strasbourg, in the same hall. Okay. In the European Youth Centers in Strasbourg, there is this basement hall. You remember that hall because we were having our Peace Work Institute final session there. And I will never forget my closing speech in that hall, where you were present, the first cohort of the Peace Work Institute. I said that closing word, quoting Nelson Mandela, "It's impossible until it's done." And the applause which exploded in the hall from the group. Because until that moment, we were doing the Peace Work Institute, and I was not sure what will be the impact of that Peace Work Institute. But at that moment, I realized that we really made an impact, which will be everlasting inside the generations of Peace Work Institute alumni who will be going through the scheme. And then 9.5 years ago, later, 23 January, I was in the same hall, participating to the Council of Europe consultative meeting on peace education. And there was a moment that their online kind of link didn't work, so the keynote speaker could not connect to speak on the screen. So they asked me to speak a little bit to fill in the gap and speak about how we do the peace work and what are our methodologies. I spoke 5 minutes, and the whole burst of applause again. And they were not the YMCA people. They were not the Peace Work Institute alumni. They were representatives of different organizations who are trying to do peace work in Europe. And I recognized at that moment that our legacy is bigger than the YMCA. That now many European organizations are really looking to our expertise to share it for them to do effective peace work. And I was extremely proud in that moment. And I was proud not only for myself, I was proud for you, Adi, for all the guys who have been committed to the Roots for Peace project, to my team, to staff, to experts, Wolfgang and Ankita, and everybody. So I was so proud that we are, I can tell you, we are number one conflict transformation organization in Europe now, in the youth field. Really, number one, with high quality expertise, with perfect record of rich experiences, with beautiful communication around it, and everything. So I was really proud of that. The same hall.
The same hall
in the basement of Council of Europe.
But Vardan, thank you for sharing that. There's some personal experiences there, but to hear you and hear your passion and to hear those moments and how they affected you, and you know, it is a process and it is a journey, and it's really beautiful for us to listen to you say, you know, this was worth it. This was all worth it. The highest of highs and the lowest of lows, when we were trying to work and build the camp, when we were trying to get participants across the whole continent to meet, when, you know, we didn't know the way forward. It's really inspiring to hear that. And that kind of takes us on to our last section that we're going to talk about today, is about the people. And I think that's been the theme today during your sharing. You've mentioned a lot of people by name, and people watching this won't know these people. But that doesn't matter, because fundamentally the YMCA is the people. It's not the camps, it's not the climbing walls, it's not even the projects. The YMCA is and always will be the people. And I guess one of the questions I have, you've mentioned obviously previous leaders and stuff, but who has been significant in your journey over the years in terms of YMCA? And that could be at any level, but is there anybody who you've mentioned or not mentioned that has just been significant for you?
Yeah, I there is this exercise called stepping stones, you know, who were the people I had to step on to cross the river. I think I would divide them into two group of people. One group of people are my line managers. I have been privileged to have talented, generous, strong, clever line managers. Really, with all the problems with them, you know, because you cannot just work without having a problem with your boss. You know, it's not human. You know, it's not how we are created. But I very much appreciate all of them. I was hired by Dolph Weather back in 1999 as YMCA Europe Development Secretary, I think, at that time. I grew under the mentorship of Johan Willem Eltvik, and he played a significant role in my growth as a YMCA leader and as a person. And I am really happy and privileged to work with Juan Simoes Iglesias as my current leader. So as a professional, because I have been all professional in YMCA Europe, you know, staff. I think my bosses, my line managers have been very important people in my career in the YMCA. And the one thing which I would highlight why I think so, because they all trusted me and gave me delegation. Every circle of a new project is a kind of reincarnation for me. I start from the beginning, and I have full trust and full support from all of them to be innovative, to be creative, to be independent. And I think that's why I mentioned their names. But also, I want to mention also names of people who are not in the YMCA, but who played very, very important role for enriching my presence in the YMCA, but also for enriching the YMCA itself.
Wow, fantastic.
We you know, it's very interesting that we quite often forget. We are always looking into our box. You know, we forget those who are around us. But I want to mention them, and I mentioned Zwante van der Weer from Eco Netherlands. I don't know where she is. I mean, but I really I will never forget her. She was a very, very important person in developing my visions in the YMCA, in the reincarnation of the project, you know, that I was doing. Caroline Krukov from Bradford, Belgium, who is working until now, and who is carrying on her big lighting with me, her backstopping with me all the way. You know, since the first day I started the roots with her, And until now, she's always in touch with me. She's working in the advocacy desk of Bread for the World, and I think she's my angel, like protecting angel, always with good advice, with good help, with good presence. Of course, Bruce Britton and Wolfgang Henrik, the guys who did the evaluations of the routes, and and who gave so wise advices. What is the strong side of the routes? For me, what Bruce told, like the YMCA has an incredible culture of creating safe space, and through that safe space, engendering love through the dividers, and that's the base of the routes. That's the success of the routes that we are creating. We have the culture of creating safe space. I think that was what I learned from Bruce, or what the Wolfgang said, that we are incredible in transforming from transforming collaborative learning to collaborative action. I mean, there's very, very clever words that come with me. So these are people who helped me to do my work in the YMCA. To do it effectively, to do it with quality, and also to be able to enroll the others into this mission.
Well, thank you. And I think you've touched on a really great point there, that there's other actors and other people that help the YMCA be the YMCA, or be a better version of the YMCA. I think that's really special. I think that's really nice. And I think my question, Vardan, is you've been around the European Alliance for a long time and the YMCA a long time. And is there anybody that, we're focusing on the people, is there anybody within the movement, volunteers or presidents or staff, or is there anybody else who from your perspective has played a significant role? And of course, everybody has. You can't sit here and say everybody has, but for you personally, because this interview is about you and your journey, is there other people from beyond the Secretary Generals, beyond the kind of external people that you've been on a journey with, and as you said, that fellowship, that friends, and if it's okay if it's people you've already mentioned, but I guess we're just looking here for people who've played a significant role in the history of the European Alliance.
Well, I mean, I would definitely mention Egon Slopianka. I mean, his story is incredible. I mean, his story also encouraged me to do the peace work. I mean, I don't know if you know it or not, Adi. Egon was a war prisoner after the Second World War, and it was in the camp, in the war prisoner camp in France, where he got to know about the YMCA.
Yeah.
And then he committed his life to the YMCA, and he later on he created the European YMCA and became one of the creators of the European YMCA. There is a very, very important story I want to share with you. Together with Juan, I was the last person who saw Egon before he passed away. Wow. From the YMCA, of course, and I'm very grateful to Juan for that, because I was a kind of the hesitant part of the journey. We were in Berlin, and he said, "Let's go and see Egon." I said, "Juan, our flight is in a couple of hours. We may not manage it." He said, "Let's try." So we quickly went to his place with taxi. We saw him. Egon prepared some cookies for us. He was very poor in his sight already. He prepared some cookies, some coffee for us. He was so happy. So we spent 1 hour with him, talking about the wine. He was so excited to hear what we are doing. And then we left. And after a few weeks, actually, we had the news that Egon passed away. And so it was a very special moment. And I always stays with me that thanks to Juan, I had this privilege to kind of say be part of the YMCA farewell to him. So I think Egon Slopianka definitely played incredible role in the history of the YMCA. And then there are many names. I mean, there is a man in America. His name is Joe Wooten. Nobody remembers him, but Joe was the American YMCA representative in Europe when the movement strengthening development in Eastern Europe was happening. And at that time, American YMCA was providing incredible support to the YMCAs in Europe to do that work. So Joe was based in Moscow, and he was he was our angel in Moscow, So when we were going through Moscow somewhere, then we would visit to Joe's place. We stay at his place, and so on. So later, many people. But I would definitely highlight Egon, and also
of course
Terry Ratcliffe.
you're only 10 years behind him. I mean, Egon has a famous quote that says, I came for a year and ended up staying 40. So you a few more and you're right there with him. So
Yeah, absolutely.
For those watching and listening, and if you're still with us, we appreciate it. All these things that Vardan is talking about, you can find in the links below. If you want to hear more about Egon, if you want to hear more about the Roots for Reconciliation project, if you want to hear more about the heritage, all these links will be provided in the video link. But this is great stuff. Vardan, I think we've come to the end, and you've shared a lot of moments and special people with us. Just before I let you finish with any other story or reflection that you think people might be interested to hear, I'll just share one of my own, and it's a moment that stays with me. I remember us walking across the mountains in Karabakh together, and a lot of people were just sat kind of sunbathing, talking, and we had a really deep conversation about the YMCA. And I, as a young leader, always remember just looking up at the blue skies and just walking with you. I think there's a photo of us just walking across the grass on this beautiful mountain range down in Karabakh. And we had a conversation about the YMCA and navigating that space as a young leader. And it's a moment that I'll always remember. And, as you talked about in your memories, I remember sitting there in Rome. I remember sitting there in Strasbourg. I'll always remember walking across the mountain range, talking with you about the movement and about the challenges. So for me, it's a special memory, and I just want to say thank you for that memory. And I'm going to hand it over to you to kind of just draw us to an end. If you've got one more special story or one more special memory, and we've already took so much from you, so that's very precious that you've shared that with us. But if I could just ask you for one more to end us on, and I'm sure people will be at the end of their coffee cup now or tea cup and wanting to go and get something else. So after that, we'll say goodbye. But Vardan, final words over to you.
Thank you, Adi. And I definitely cannot close this catharsis without mentioning people who are in my team, who have been in my team. I could not spell success without, for example, Martina in the Peace Work Institute, in the training of trainers or training of program developers. By the way, today is Martina's birthday. And and you can hear these clicks.
Not when you're watching this, when it was recorded, just for the people.
Yeah. Clicks, and it's the YMCA Europe staff is just sending birthday greetings to Martina. So, and of course the root staff, Marius, Rezi, David, and Lazarus in the beginning. Now Lika, and all the guys who have been part of the planning teams. You, Dorina, Rachel. Ivana, all these guys have been incredible part of my journey as a YMCA Europe staff. But the story I want to conclude the story with this interview with the story of my 50th birthday.
Okay.
It was a few years ago, and I was in Georgia, and it was not planned. My birthday, it was just happened that I'm born in summer, so every summer there's camp season, so I have to be in one or another camp during this birthday. And we were organizing our Profest just 1 year after the war broke out in Ukraine, the first war, back in 2014. And I was sitting, it was my birthday. There were 50 young people in that camp. So my 50th birthday with 50 young people in the camp. And then somebody came to the room where I was sitting with some, mature guys there, kind of secretly celebrating my birthday, with a bottle of something I brought from Armenia to share. And then they came and said, "Look, come and see what's happening." We came out, and there was the story. The Armenian and the Georgian guys were playing a song from a Ukrainian group called Okean Elze, which the name of the song is Obnimim Mene, which means hug me. It's about a soldier who is going to war. The Ukrainians were singing together with the Armenian and Georgian band, the Russians were crying and coming to hug the Ukrainians. The Americans were amazed what's happening. And when they asked and they were clarified what's happening, the Americans started to cry even harder. So it was such a manifesto of peace ethic and peace vision by young people on my birthday. And I was so happy. That was the best present I ever received in my life. And that was an incredible event. It was the incredible birthday evening I enjoyed with these young people. And I think I live with this vision that soon, very soon, we will have an opportunity of organizing a similar event with Russian and Ukrainian young people hugging each other and everybody else doing their best, that they will do it. So this is my story.
Vardan, thank you so much for spending an hour with us today and talking about your journey, your experience. Quite often in the YMCA, we don't thank people for their leadership. So let me, on behalf of the YMCA movement, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for what you have done and what you continue to do. And for anything that you heard today that Vardan was talking about, please check those links and please check out the other interviews on the Heritage series and understand that I hope the message is loud and clear that YMCA is people, YMCA is moments, YMCA is memories, YMCA is whatever you make of it. And if you're just like Vardan, it can be a life-changing, wonderful journey. So Vardan, thank you very much from all of us in the movement. And for everybody else watching, we'll see you on the next one. Thank you and goodbye.